Power 102 Digital.
Well, true that. The future talk right here at Power 102 Digital Tuesday. And of course, welcome to Hard Talk. Today, Hard Talk features the Trinity. And of course, it's all about real music and great culture. And a very special guest with me today in the form of Mr. Rubadiri Victor. And let me say hi and good afternoon, Rubadiri. How are you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here, Mark Daddy. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year
Yes.
to listeners.
Same to you, my brother. Same to you, my brother. Before we get into the actual nitty gritty of what we're going to chat about today, can you tell people what Rubadiri is about and what you do? A little bio.
All right.
Start with
I'm a multimedia artist working in 8 mediums: film, music, TV, theater, uh, carnival arts, design. I write, publish a number of different things. And I'm also a cultural activist. I'm the founder and president of the Artists Coalition of Trinidad and Tobago, the primary lobbying group for the creative industries and cultural sector in the country. Most of the enabling environments, I'll say all but one of the things that are in the state that the state has in place for the creative industries were what we lobbied into existence and fought for. So that's so I exist on those two sides of the spectrum: artists and activists.
Nice. So I'm happy you said all of that because I really invited you here to talk about what we term as a music industry in Trinidad and Tobago. If there's one, I've done interviews slash conversations with varied artists across the board, whether it be arts, craft, or whatever. And sometimes, especially those who are into the musical industry, or the musical aspect of our culture, I should say, they talk about, sometimes in talking with them, they would say, well, the music industry in Trinidad and Tobago. So I will stop them right there and then and say, well, I don't know about music industry. I know about, people doing artistic things like singing soca, calypso, playing music, and like you said, the creative arts itself. And I don't know about an industry. So I invited you here for us to discuss how do we go about talking industry talk or how we go about setting up an industry.
Right. Well, let's do a macro read so that people have an idea of the lay of the land. So the lay of the land is that the creative industries are still the second largest industries on planet 8 for the last since 98 to now. So that will make it about 26 years or so, 26, 27, 28 years. The creative industries have been the second largest industries on planet 8. Only arms is bigger than it. Has been the growth industry on the planet at a time when manufacturing industries and extractive industries, the two things in Trinidad and Tobago we love, we still Victorian and 19th century in our understanding of industries and economies and how the world works. We're still into the doctor lawyer. We still feel that paradigm of the world still applies, not understanding that there are video game companies bigger than oil and gas companies that just produce one game, that there are fellas who ride skateboards who are bigger than all our combined CEOs put together. If I'm talking about fellows who ride in a piece of wood with 4 wheels on it.
Yeah.
We don't understand that the world has changed seismically. And the creative industries have been the growth economy. They have the thing that transforms cities, transform countries, collapsing communities. They use as the entry point into the telecom and online sectors and to change countries into service economies. The vast array of things from the heritage industries to music, film, uh, you know, um, entertainment centers, parks, all those different kinds of things. Music is a huge part of that. Multi billion dollar industry, one that has been minting millionaires almost on a daily basis, you know. And so it's been a remarkable time. But for that to happen, you need to have in place the enabling environment. That's an enabling environment of institutions, policy, legislation, and enabling fiscal uh, plans and stuff in place. If you don't have those things, you cannot monetize the talent on the ground. And that was the battle that we've been fighting as the Artists Coalition of Trinidad and Tobago, my group, for the last 20 something years. And where we've had like a 5% success ratio, which all trade unions and NGOs tell us is stratospheric. Um, but um, but that don't you know that don't strain the tea,
Mhm.
because without those enabling environment, all we have is talent on the ground,
Yeah.
and we can't monetize the talent because we don't have the things in place to create the economies of scale and to create all the various things um, to get product to market. So an enabling environment is, you have to think of art as, there have to be um, developmental incubative things all the way from the idea that somebody has in their head to the time that the idea starts to materialize, to get it to, and then it to prototype. At all stages, you have to have enablers. From prototype, it has to become a product. From a product, it then has to be packaged. Then it has to go to the marketplace. Then it has to go to the first marketplace, second marketplace, and then the larger marketplace. And then it has to be canonized, meaning that it has to be a process of critics and scholars and all those kind of things that put those things into context and battle for its place in an international firmament of canonized things, of magazines and experts and universities and everything that says, yes, this is valid. And that's the life cycle of any artistic product. And at all stages, you have to have these enablers and those kinds of things. Our political class, believes that they are bright and brighter than the rest of the planet, so they refuse to put in place the enablers. Um, so part of it is excruciating ignorance of our political class, and the other, I will have to say, is class warfare, based on some of the people in that political class and their financiers and handlers who don't want to see certain communities empowered, which is what will happen if you put in place those enablers. So, for instance, the golden ages of music, the golden ages of hip hop, and let's say dub and dancehall and that kind of stuff. If you were to put a rogues gallery of the guys who constitute um, that, the pantheon of the greats of those forms,
Mhm.
you would have a set of people that would look like any CPEP gang in Trinidad and Tobago, right? These are working class, mostly working class black boys, right?
Yeah.
And black women, but mostly working class black boys. And this constitutes a massive billionaire and multi-millionaire and millionaire class. There are some people who don't want to see that happen. And they have, despite us showing them all the financials and stuff. We have international reps coming in and telling them that you have to put this in place because this will happen automatically. You don't. It's proven. This is what will happen, and you will benefit from it financially. They refuse to do it, and sometimes things that only require a stroke of a pen.
Hmm.
When people who like money, who are shown that that's all they care about, um, skew turn away from money, there obviously is another agenda at hand. And I have to say that that's one of the major agendas, um, uh, you know, that that stands in the way of a lot of the policy and stuff happening things like local content legislation and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
Because when you see the people who sit down on our side of the table and the people who sit down on the other side of the table to negotiate those things, it's pretty clear, you know, what what the game is.
And the
So
outcomes.
unfortunately, these are just this is just some of the backdrops. These are some of the things that when we speak about the music industry and the things that are hampering the creative industries on a whole,
Mhm.
music industry in particular. These are some of the things. So I just wanted to paint that kind of big picture of where we are at. We are a country that whose comparative advantage is creativity. We have it coming out of our pores. We have won Grammys, Emmys, Oscars, Nobel Prizes, Bollywood Oscars, Commonwealth Book Prizes, or I mean, you name any international awards, MTV Awards, BET Awards, you name it. Trinbagonians have won these things, right? More than 200 world records, more than 150 world firsts, and numerous. I mean, the amount of heroes and cultural um, heroes and ambassadors across the planet is astounding for 1.4 million people. Uh, but we have a leadership class that refuses to put the things in place to liberate the economies that are there inside of uh, that these people and the possibilities of the communities. So yeah, so that's the thesis statement. Oh, by the way, how do people get to listen to this? I have a number of people
Well,
who want to.
we are streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook.
Okay,
Yes.
right. So, yeah, I want to send them a link or something.
Yes, you can do that.
So it'll be Power One or Two on Facebook.
Yes. 412 digital.
All right,
And you
keep
can
going.
also type in hard talk, and they'll find it there. Because I have a few people who are already locked in. Raj Paul, I know he's my good friend. He's out there in the United Kingdom. Elizabeth Bain, Diana, Diana Benskin, and of course, she too is contributing by saying award-winning poet and journalist here. I am at TNT National. So we have some people who are already logged in. Some people can even um, link up with us via Facebook, about via WhatsApp, and our WhatsApp number is 318-1021. So folks can also link with us via WhatsApp 318-1021.
And
You know,
the YouTube link is the address? What am I looking for? Power One or Two again?
yes, Power 102. They can type in hard talk, Power 102, or the afternoon drive, Power 102, and they will find it.
Okay, no problem.
Mhm.
Let's continue. Questions.
Yes, you said so much that encompass everything that we need to do to establish what I call a music industry because it's been hurting me for a very long time. I've been talking with this. I mean, I've had conversation with you already when we were on the FM frequency pertaining to these issues that I think are so in dire need to lift up us lift us out of this kind of morass that we find ourselves in, all because of oil and gas and the ups and downs of the prices and how the economy turns around, based on that and that alone. And it seems as though, correct, as you said, that the people who are in control, who are the ones to actually help put this in place and to have it activated for the betterment of the people. Because, like you said, the people who are the ones to come to the fore with the best of whatever we have to offer from the creative artistic world, it seems like nobody seems to want them to be there or nobody seems to want to listen to them. So tell me something. Should we introduce or approach the private sector to be part of this initiative to get this thing off the ground, up and running?
See, thing is that a lot of the things that are required, we should bring them in, but I'd say like the most essential thing that needs to get done is the 50% local content quotas, broadcast quotas. Yes, I know the world is streaming right now, and people are tralala, people have locked off terrestrial meat, and that kind of stuff. It does not matter. The rest of the planet, nearly every single other country on planet Earth, has in place quotas, local content quotas. This is the only, I say this again, it is the only proven way to build a broadcast industry, film, television, and music. There is no other way. I say it again. There is no other way to build a local film, television, and music industry other than local content quotas. It is the basis of the construction of those things. You simply do not have the economies of scale battling the American empire, the $1 trillion American cultural empire. There's no way you can fight it without local content quotas, right? So I mean, Nigeria, everybody, the whole European Union, everybody, Latin America, everybody, the Middle East, the Asian countries, the Koreas, everybody has in place local content quotas.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time in the world where the rest of the planet was heading towards local content quotas, and we were the only country heading away, actually penalizing it with statements from leaders and saying that they will never institute local content broadcast quotas, whilst at the same time they were introducing it for the oil and gas sector.
Yeah.
So it's a it is a serious problem of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one. But I want to talk about the way that the private sector could help. But let me first talk about the music industry, local music industry. Let me now come and talk about the lay of the land, so that people know what we're talking about. Because most people, when they talk about local music, people thinking soca, right?
Yeah.
Chutney, soca, parang, right? Festival musics. That's what they think it is. And when they think soca is the 50 songs that they hear that get played on the radio and by the DJs. And the chutney, well, the chutney exists in its own universe and that kind of stuff. And the parang is the para, right? But the thing is, what people don't understand is that non-festival music constitutes most of the recorded music in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? What I mean by that, non-festival music, I'm talking about Trinidad and Tobago rock, reggae, dancehall, funk, jazz, fusion,
R&B.
world beat, R&B, hip hop, the full gamut. The recorded output of that far surpasses and so it's not 50 songs recorded, it's about 2,000 songs. That's what they say, is about 2,000 songs recorded for the season, for the soca, for the carnival season, about 2,000 songs.
Yeah.
That is a drop in the bucket to the amount of non-festival music. When myself and Sheldon Manu, at the time vice president of the Artists Coalition, we had our show Indigenous, which was on your radio station.
Yes, I remember, Sheldon.
Of years and stuff. It was the first full range radio program which played all spectrum Trinidad and Tobago's music and stuff, and it was on your station for 3 years, I believe.
Yes.
When we made the first call to people to bring in their CDs and stuff for non-festival music and that kind of stuff, I think in the first week or 2 weeks, we got over 2,000 CDs. And these were albums.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
These were albums. Most of these were albums, weren't singles and stuff. These were albums of, 5 to 16, 18 songs and that kind of stuff. And over time, we've received like thousands and thousands throughout the course of doing the program. Thousands and thousands and thousands of songs, right? When we did a calculation based on what we were seeing on the ground of how much music was being produced, non-festival music was being produced, we calculated it was over $70 million worth of music that was being produced by mostly young people, non-festival music every single year. Almost none of it played on the 36 radio stations in the country. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Young people take their sweat, their dreams, their gifts. You know how hard it is to bring a band together and all that kind of stuff, and to create stuff. Let's to create, put together a song. Let's to put together an album with a material and thing to write the songs, arrange the songs, lyrics, thing, bam, 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 band rehearsal, tra la la la, all that drama, and that kind of thing. So something that you know is not going to be played. It will not get the respect. This is the destruction of the pop culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And so the thing is, most of those 36 other radio stations, other than you all, who refuse to play that music, would tell you that when we arguing publicly for local content thing, they say, well, we are easy listening radio station, or we are R&B and hip hop station, or we are jazz. And they say, but we have plenty of music like that.
That's right.
I mean, and the thing is, and not no insult to the soca and calypsonians and the chutney guys and that kind of stuff, but the musical genius of the country, you can hear it more in the non-festival music. That's where the musicianship and the arrangements and the lyrics and all of that kind of stuff in all the different moods and stuff. I love songs and songs of anger, protest songs. I mean, songs, complex kind of stuff. I mean, I'd sent to you about 16 songs, and unfortunately, because of the YouTube and stuff, copyright things, we can't play songs.
I tried to play a few before we started the program.
I know you played a couple of them before we started and stuff.
Yeah.
But it would be so beautiful every time. That's why Indigenous was so powerful. And at one point in time, you had thousands of people listening every week from all over the world tuned into that. We had a chart that was on the Express and all that kind of stuff, and voted on by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And it was because it was music that was connecting to people, normal people. And so that's the first thing we need to understand, is that there is all this music. And so by refusing to play the $70 million worth of music every single year that young people slave to put together and that kind of stuff, that is their heart on their sleeve and that kind of stuff, it is a spit in the face of the youth culture, young people, and the pop culture, the possible pop culture, the abortion of the pop culture of Trinidad and Tobago. And so, okay, so let's file that one thing. So let's talk now about the what we call the industry, and people call the industry. So in 2008 or so, I think it was, that when we did the read, it actually was the first year that Marshall did Madison Square. So it was a great thing. So, you know, they have UE economists, and these are economists, they have big name economists and that kind of stuff, who've done a number of different kinds of very well paid for kind of papers and quantifications of the creative sector, right? And none of them are worth the paper that they're on. Why? Because nobody tells these people the truth. Nobody's telling them what their earnings are. Nobody's telling them any of those things, right? So you have all these papers and all these figures and la la la. They're not worth anything. But we are insiders. So we said we needed the data. We needed real data to base the different things that we're battling for. So we did a read of three years, and we followed the music for 3 years. Right? We knew all the effects that people were playing here and abroad. We knew the promoters, the artists, background people, managers, we knew all kinds of people and that kind of stuff, and we got step by step, fet by fet, party by party, event by event, what people were getting paid. And after that period, this is what we image. There's one person that was making $56 million a year. There were about 6 people at that time making between 1 to 2.5 million dollars. Now that has changed since that period. Now I would say there are probably about 20 something people making between 1 to 6 million to about 10 at a good year. And then you have Rose, who is making between 10 to probably 15, right? And then at that time, if you remove prize money, if you remove Soca Money and those kind of things, prizes from those things, those earnings would have plummeted. And then underneath that, everybody else was subsisting. Of course, that is not an industry, right? Now, the outlier inside of there was the chutney circuit. The chutney circuit had you could not supply enough chutney music to the. You could have created a chutney band in the morning and have gigs up your Rokung Kutunkung across the diaspora, right? Part of that is just the East Indian spending power in their diaspora, right? And the exotic thing of chutney as a kind of lingua franca across the East Indian diaspora, right? And the fact that it's using filmy music and stuff, of course, helps, and those kinds of things. Now, there were a lot of them that were making anywhere in the region of $750,000 to about $1.5 million a year, and some probably up to about $3 million, right? A whole set of chutney bands and stuff were making that. Low key, right?
Yeah.
Of course, some things have changed and that kind of stuff. You have Zessers and those kind of things now. You have a number of Zessers who have become millionaires in a year, right? Unfortunately, a lot of them have not lived to be able to spend that money, right? And so that's another issue.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is that in this Zesser thing, and the thing isn't also because part of their patronage is gangster culture, global gangster culture, right? Gangster patrons and parties and those kinds of things and that kind of stuff. So that part of their patronage has come from that and those kinds of things. Is how do you emancipate? Are they able to emancipate themselves away from those things and those themes and those kinds of things, to be able to see the liberation that culture and Black music gives them, rather than succumb to the way that Black music has now become weaponized against Black communities by the American white industry through hip hop as the kind of template for the raising of the icon of the gangster as the only available Black male authentic mark of authenticity. So that's the largest state of the industry. One person making 56 million at this moment in time, about 10 to 20 in the $1 million range, million to 6 million, one person between 10 and 15, and then everybody else still subsisting. Right?
Yes.
Now, at one point in time, we did a read of something called, what did we call it again? I think it was called the Possible Country or something like that. It was, we identified all the players who had the possibilities of, if we had put the enablers in place and did the things that we're supposed to. And let me give you an example. We have a track record. There's a paper trail that shows what happens when you do the things that we said.
Yes.
Right? In a macro sense, the creation of the film industry, the Trinidad film industry, where they put in place all the rebates and all the tax exemptions, all the things that we said to put in place, and those kinds of things, sans quota. But everything else, they put those things in place. They created a film company, they stocked it with people with some capacity and those kinds of things, and they started going to film festivals and stuff. In the 6-7 years that that operated, the country earned over $150 million in GDP from the film industry. We created more than 300 films, many award-winning films and feature films and those kinds of things. Of course, they're not shown on local TV. Yeah? That's our next issue.
Yes.
But those things were created. That sector employed thousands of people. There were literally dozens of, and still are, a number of them still exist, dozens of film companies and television and video companies that were created. Entire animation industry, animation companies and those kinds of things exist and those kinds of things. That's one thing. The other thing, so that's on a macro scale in terms of when you put in place the things that we say, what happens. Of course, subsequently, they removed all them things. They mash up the whole thing, and the whole thing has collapsed again, right? And they gone back to how they say they think how it should be run, and how they running stuff now is sold, right? But for that 7-year window, we had a vision of what international best practice looks like, and the rewards of that. Now, Calypso rose. Everybody have all kind of thing why Rose succeed and nobody else has succeeded like Rose. Rose #1 female world beat artist in the world and that kind of stuff Rose just have to say, today I having a concert in France tomorrow and she will sell out a 10,000 hall.
Yeah.
Like that, right? The only thing stopping Rose from being a headline act or an act on nearly every single World Beat Festival stage is that she doesn't like to play those large venues for crowds of over 150,000 and a million and that kind of stuff. That's her choice. Right? It's not for want of them not asking her. They want her on those stages. Right?
Yeah.
Now, how did that happen? All the time, all during the years, we were saying that we were telling, excuse my language, the kakasplats in the politicians and that kind of stuff, that there are industry expos that you have to go to every single year, right? So MIDEM, South by Southwest, WOMEX, there are a whole set of different ones. There's the US college circuit one. There are a whole set of different ones that are relevant to the kinds of music that we do.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's where the business of music happens. When Shaggy had sell 12 million, It Wasn't Me, biggest song of the year, biggest artist of the year, that year, whatever. The next year, Shaggy was in MIDEM on the shop floor selling his goods and that kind of stuff. Because if you're not there, you don't exist. The Jamaican booth every year is about the size of the 102 studios, right? Every single year. That's why they are present in the international industry. We were never there. Rituals Music, Jean-Michel Gibert, the Caribbean music group, started doing that. Every single international crossover and hit that Trinidad and Tobago had in the last 2 decades was because of Rituals Music, and they're going to those expos, right? So platinum and gold records for Follow the Leader, Dollar Wine, Soca is a young girl in need, that one, that all those songs and that kind of stuff. KMC deals, multiple deals leading up to his Universal music deal, which we'll talk about in a little while. 26 million US, the largest deal for a Caribbean artist ever. All of that was due to that. Now, Jean-Michel was footing the bill on his own, right? This is that kind of stuff. So we never went consecutive years. He would go like in '97 and go back in '99 and 2003 and all those kind of things and that kind of stuff. So that there are economies that you win by going consecutive years,
I
right?
understand.
You got something licensed this year and that kind of stuff, and that kind of thing. So people get familiar with. For you, the next year you go, you might get a concert, a performance on the performance circuit signed by a booking agent and stuff. The next year again they renew that, and some other people say, hey, they tell them like, hey, these guys were real good in our stuff and thing, and they sign you onto another booking thing because the Trinidad brand start to build with you. They say we could risk um, on some more Trinidad artists and that kind of stuff because these guys were good for us and those kind of things. But Jean-Michel, he never had the resources to be able to go that. But yet still, every single, I mean, significant things, right? So I think again, it was about around $150 million worth of deals, right?
Yeah.
They must have spent less than $5 million or whatever to get that, right? Now, Rose was the only person that was able to go the consecutive years. And because she went the consecutive years, she got the benefits of that stuff. So the first year, she got the performance deal. The second year, I believe, she got the first album signing. She signed to the label and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they signed, PBS signed the movie, the Rose documentary movie. The third year, she got US tour as well as European tour. And because she was present inside that mix, Caesar, unfortunately, all the massive divas of the world beat circuit died around the same time. Caesar Europa and all of those, the massive goddesses of world beat music. So world beat music is the space for all the other ethnic musics of the world, right?
Yeah.
This is not Hollywood and Rolling Stone and Billboard magazine and Top 100 and that kind of stuff. These are circuits that exist mostly in Europe, but all over the world and that kind of stuff that employ all those other musicians and things, the Hugh Masakelas and the Baba Mals and the Tantan and Baba, all of those big global acts perform on world beat music stages. This is multi-million-dollar business and stuff, but because Trinidadians so tie up, and especially our leaders so tie up with Billboard and all that kind of stuff and Emmy and Grammy and whatever, they don't know that this is a parallel industry better suited for the music that we do. Rose she happened to be present at a time when the goddesses of world beat died, and they were looking for the replacement. And so world beat music thrives on authenticity, right? You have to be the authentic voice of an ethnic music form. That's what they want. They want to hear that authenticity and that kind of stuff. They want to hear that. And Rose was there. And Rose ascended and she became the darling of the world beat circuit. She stepped up on a throne that was vacated by by the Maria Makibas, and that is the lineage we're talking about.
Yes.
She stepped into that space, which is why she could just snap her fingers tomorrow and say, yeah, I want to have something in these venues the whole of next week in France and wherever and that kind of stuff, and they will sell out. Tens of thousands of people will, you know what I mean? White people spending big money to go and see that. That is what
Mongol Patissa and Brother Resistance and his crew at one time, they were painting a nice picture for Trinidad and Tobago in that same circuit you're talking about.
Well, I mean, so I'm now gonna go to the project that we did, which was identifying all the possible players who could have gotten deals and who would and where they would arise to. And remember, I told you one person 56, one and six people. When we did the read, it was still one person at 56 million, but we had about 10 people who were in the $30 million range. And then on a lower tier, between 10 to 15 million thereabouts and stuff, you had about 40 people. Then around the $1 million, $3 million, around that space and that kind of thing, you had about 200 people. And then in the 100,000 year thing, you had about the next 200 people. And then that is an industry.
Yes.
And the thing is, though, it's not the people who people think. The same way how Rose rose.
Yes.
And nobody expected that. The people that we had that could have done that was people like the Lara brothers,
Yeah.
Shadow, Tanka, Mongol, Resistance, the Kaiso at Dirty Gyms,
Yes.
thing with Relator and all of them singing the traditional. Those were the kind for one set of stuff and those kinds of things. All the authentic Robert Monroe, the guitarist, all of those, the Quattro player, all of those people were the people be identified were they would have been the Rose. So Rose wouldn't have been alone.
Yes.
Right? They would have been literally a gang of 30 around that range and that kind of stuff and that kind of thing, performing, and then you had things like the bands, Desperados,
Yes. Yes.
Amoko, All Stars, Phase
Yeah.
2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then you had the crossover acts and stuff, the ones at Ataclan, MX Prime,
Yeah.
the one with this incredible voice, oh Lord, pardon me, it's out of sight, out of mind. But and then all the stuff, the music that we would have played for and that kind of thing, all the John Johns and the Three Sons and the the rock bands, the Odd Fellows, local, Joint Pop, Gary Hector, Orange Skies, all of that whole crew.
Even bands like Ilan Palais, where jazz is concerned.
And the thing is so right. So I'm glad you say Ilan Pale. So now that's the next part of the thing. The catalogs.
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago has possibly the second oldest music industry on planet Earth. Right?
Yeah.
So 5 years older than jazz, celebrated 100 years in 2010. Right?
Yeah.
2012, yeah, 2012. Right? Lobby's band, Mango Vare, in the Smithsonian time capsule that will survive when Trump, after the nuclear holocaust, after Trump get elected again, and all of that happens and the world goes up in flames and the time capsule survives and the cockroaches take over. When the aliens come, they will discover in that time capsule, I think it's 45 songs with only one non-American song in it, which is Trinidad and Tobago Calypso from Lobby's band.
Yeah.
Now, that catalog of music that is now 110 years plus old literally has hundreds of thousands of songs, right? If each year we have like 6,000 plus songs, going 6,000 to 10,000, do the math, right? So we have hundreds of thousands of songs that we have not canonized and they're not being played anywhere. So Ilan Pale has an incredible catalog of jazz, easy listening jazz music, incredible. Ming and them do an incredible job producing that that thing. It's not straight go ahead jazz. It's not avant-garde jazz. It is easy listening jazz, and
Yes.
it is our fusion and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, what are we doing to place that catalog into the global canon and into the global marketplace? What are we doing? What is the So that one part is there's a huge market for um, licensing of music.
Yeah.
There are movies and TV shows and video games and advertisements and events and all kinds of things that require music and that kind of stuff. And there are a whole series of new Trinidad and Tobago um, artists, um, like Mark Hardy and those guys, and even MX Prime and those kind of things that
Hmm.
make sizable portions of money by licensing their music to huge video games, FIFA, and big video games and those kinds of things, and to movies and to those kinds of things. In fact, I'll give a plug to Mark Hardy's just set up a licensing, a music licensing website, marketplace for Trinidad and Tobago content
Hmm.
to try and link it to global uh, licensing companies and people who want to look out for the kind of songs that we produce.
Yes.
So I really wish him luck because that's something that we've been advocating for at the state level, that they needed to set up and sell, and something that was pioneered by Martin Mice Raymond and his company. They did that for a number of their artists on their label, and it was very, very sophisticated and very, very successful. That was the first time the Trinidad music was being played in the big football stadium, baseball and basketball stadiums, and those kinds of things and that kind of stuff. And that is what kind of gave that in to Trinidad and Tobago content in that spaces of that. Since then, seeing a lot of these soca acts and those kind of things have gotten songs and gotten performances in those spaces and those kinds of things. But we need a dedicated company that 24/7, 365 has access to the catalog and that aggressively is trying to position that music into the international spaces and those kinds of things. Um, and so the catalog of music is 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 like I just came up from doing a hike up to the tracking station up Macquarie,
Yeah.
and I haven't been. I confess I hadn't been since I was a kid. I haven't been up there since I was a kid. I remember it when it was a pristine white satellite dish and with stairs and whatever, whatever, whatever. I
Hmm.
could not imagine the rusty wreck that I saw, that with graffiti and moss and tree and thing growing out of the thing and stuff that looked like it could fall down at any second. Um, in the same way that we have allowed all those incredible heritage sites, which are multi-million dollar earning sites. They
Yes.
could be multi-million dollar earning sites. You can watch concerts and events and those kinds of things, raves, all kinds of things, massive Tai Chi events and exercise events and stuff against the backdrop of um, that dish, which was when I was reading up research, they said that possibly GPS and a whole set of those technologies might have started with the transmissions from that dish.
Yes.
So this was a major part of the U.S. missile defense system that was here in Trinidad and Tobago, that pioneered a certain kind of technology. The first time certain types of signals were ever sent in the planet was sent from here to the base, and
Yeah.
those kind of things using that dish and that kind of stuff. And we just have that and the attendant warehouse buildings, which are incredible, massive. You're talking about, 5,000 square foot buildings and those kinds of things
Hmm.
left to rot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's insane, And so that's what we're doing to that catalog of music,
Yes.
you know? And if you just think about the state of ecstasy and bliss and elevated sense of self that you get when you're listening to your favorite songs.
Yeah.
Think about the place that you're transported to, and that state of being that you're transported to, whether it be bittersweet memory, whether it be pure joy and exaltation, whether it be dancing like a nut, like nobody's looking, whether it be you want to cry, so you listen to this song and this song just make you bawl every single time. Think about all those states of beings, and think about the fact that Trinidad and Tobago has produced tens of thousands of songs that have that power and that capacity. From the ones that people know that have been in the public space because they've been fortunate enough to be in the festival music space and people know them, and the tens of thousands of others that they don't know
Yeah.
because it's the non-festival music that the radios refuse to play, except
Yeah.
yours.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're nowhere, they're nowhere, they're not monetized, they're not monetizable, they're not in any canonized form or format, they're not in a space where people can experience them. And you know what I mean? Thank God that goes for YouTube and those kinds of things, and collectors like I have to shout out people like Sean Randu, and I have to give a rest in peace to Teddy Pinero, you know, and all those like Sprangalang and all of the others who were the great archivists of Trinidad and Tobago music,
Yeah.
you know, who have, you know, the two largest collections of Trinidad and Tobago music,
Yeah.
the second oldest recorded industry on the planet, are outside of Trinidad and Tobago. The largest is in Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
Ray Funk's collection, and the second is George Mirage's collection in Canada, which he recently sold. The largest in Trinidad is the Sean Randu collection in Diego Martin.
Right.
And Sean has been is the one who has posted a lot of the legacy music of Trinidad you're not going to hear anywhere else on YouTube. He's posted a lot of it on YouTube so that people have access. You know, you would hear songs that you didn't hear, all the Trinidad pop and all the Trinidad, all the other stuff that you don't hear because they know, you know, it's not been played anywhere
That's right.
aggressively and stuff. And so, you know, so these are, I'm Trinidad and Tobago music could easily be worth anywhere in the region of 600 million to $1 billion to this economy annually.
I always say that.
Just the music.
Yeah.
And I you know, the music as a phenomenon. That's what it's worth.
Yeah.
Right? There are 300 Trinidad style carnivals in the world. So now I'm gonna draw this another. I mean, I just open up different vistas of our
Yes.
power of our
Yes.
people as a people.
Yes.
One New Orleans carnival, one Venice carnival, one Brazil carnival. 300 plus Trinidad style carnivals in the world. The two largest street festivals in the Western world are Trinidad style carnivals: London, Notting Hill, Brooklyn, Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
At their height, 4 million people on the streets. 4 million people on the streets. If 4 black people get together on the streets, as I always say, in any one of those metropoles, it's cause for police action. We have 4 on the corner of Bleecker. I mean,
Yeah.
we have 4 million
Mm-hmm.
on the streets, and they can't do anything about it.
Hmm.
The state had nothing to do with that. Private sector had nothing to do with that. People, the power of the people of Trinidad and Tobago did that. With the power of the Caribbeans and everybody else and stuff. But the power of Trinidad and the thing that people have in their belly
Yes.
made that happen. I hadn't been to Notting Hill in 20 years, right? 2003, I'll come to that. We carried out 7 bands to UK and Norway, played about almost 50 gigs, non-Caribbean, non-diaspora gigs in mainstream spaces, non-festival music bands like the Black Months, 12 band, those kinds of things, and those kinds of things. When we played in most of those venues, they used to tell us, you all are the first Trinidadians that we've seen since Sparrow in the 60s. These are mainstream venues. Madonna playing early on in the week, you playing. You know what I mean? This is
Yes.
not Trinidad and Tobago soca parties and whatnot. You know, we made a point of going after those things, right? Sparrow, they all of them they always ask like, well, where were the rest of the Trinidadians?
Yeah.
They could not understand, and they all remember Sparrow.
Mhm.
They say, "Boy, Sparrow mash up the place." I mean, it's like they still remember where it just when they start to remember this. I mean, the anecdotes they start to talk about Sparrow.
Yeah.
You know, about how he had people eating out the palm of his hand and stuff, and people, he mash up the place, and they always like, how come? Now, every time he was sitting down in those negotiating the deals and those kinds of things, entry into these spaces and that kind of stuff. Whilst we there, phone calls coming all the time. Jamaicans
Hmm.
booking the venue, all
Yeah.
on the wall and stuff. The pictures are Hall and Oates and David Bowie and
Mhm.
whatever. Next to them is pictures of Burning Spear, Buju.
Mhm.
I mean, and that kind of stuff. That's
Yeah.
the difference.
Mhm.
A Jamaican artist could come out the jail today,
Yeah.
do a song, and be touring the world by next week.
Yes.
Because the systems that they have put in place,
Mhm.
and I'm not talking about diaspora gigs, I'm talking about mainstream venues
Yeah.
where the money is,
Mhm.
right? Where the global money is. I'm not spitting on the fact that we have a diaspora and carnivals and that kind of stuff, because that has minted a number of millionaires and that has made a number of people, I mean, I'm happy and glad again, but it have nothing to do with us, nothing to do with our leadership. That
Yes.
has to do with Caribbean people and Trinidad and Tobago people and this contagious, the most contagious festival on planet Earth that we created,
That's right.
right?
Mhm.
I was not in it. We carried out two king costumes. The idea is we're trying to create circuits for king and queen costumes outside, the same thing as in all of these things, outside of Trinidad and Tobago Carnival, right? So that they can tour the world and those kind of things and that kind of stuff, and also to open up vistas outside of just the carnival, other kinds of festivals, museums, galleries, all those other kinds of things, trying to get the king and queen costumes to be seen as fine art, artifacts, and those kinds of things, outside of. Anyway, not in the first time in 20 years, 2 million people on Ladbroke Grove singing 4 generations of soca music.
Hmm.
Only about 30% of them are Caribbean. Everybody else is Europeans, Middle Easterners, Asians, Latin Americans, Africans. Singing 4 generations, singing Nelson, singing Shadow,
Yeah.
singing Kitsch,
Hmm.
all under 35. That's 35 years and under.
Yeah.
So we have won certain battles that we are not even clear about. We don't even know what we've won. What do those 2 million people singing those songs represent? All those households who know that music intimately. They know it intimately, they sing the words.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, now, if Jamaica had that headway, what would they have done with that? What the advantage that they would have moved? How would they have moved on that market opening? Not just with music, but with every kind of product and every kind of. Well, we know what they do because we've seen it. We've seen when they get openings, what they do. They
Yes.
tear that. They
Nice.
tear that thing open. You
Yes.
know.
Yes.
They have one guest appearance on Fresh Prince, and the world know about that. We have 4 lead actors on Fresh Prince when it was the #1 show,
Yeah.
and crickets. Nobody know anything about Trinidad and Tobago brand. Trinidad and Tobago. It means absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
So, and that's leadership. All of that is leadership.
Yeah.
And so this is it. So this is the place that we are right now. And so I know we have about 45 minutes, a little bit again.
Yeah.
So I want to take a look in that next part of this stuff in terms of the solutions and
Hmm.
in terms of the possibilities that exist um, for the music at the moment and the things that we 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 might be able to do, you know. So I know I've been talking. So you have any questions? Anything you wanna
Well,
put?
the question I ask you, all of this is the answers. I asked you a question about the music industry so that you would really come out and talk all what you're talking about, because those are the answers to that question. What I want to bring into the stream now is that we have places like Napa, and we have what we call SAPA, which is the same National Academy for the Performing Arts in San Fernando. We call it SAPA. I think those are two venues where we can start developing the operational spaces to start most of what you detailed. And I'm happy that you did that kind of detailing, because a lot of people don't know what the power of Trini, I call it re-music and re-culture. People don't know the power of that and the kind of earnings that it can generate. That will I always talk about re-music, re-culture has more benefits than oil and gas and all of this thing. I've been saying that all the time. I've been saying that will run out, and
A friend
Trini.
of mine has this thing that
Mhm,
he says that a barrel of gas, a barrel of oil
mhm.
was selling for like a hundred and something. A steel pan
Yeah,
is $7,000 to $12,000.
imagine that.
That's what our leaders do understand.
No, for some
And
reason.
you're running down the oil.
Hmm,
You're running down that barrel of oil.
yeah.
There's a hundred and something that earning you $100 and something.
Yes.
But the pan,
Hmm.
just the artifact of the pan,
Yes.
worth $7,000 to $12,000.
Yeah. I've advocated for the names of some of our great tuners, you know, to be like just in the same way they have Yamaha pianos and organs and all. So we don't think along those lines at all, and it bothers me to know that all of this, all the Neville Jules and the Hammer and all these people, they it's just a memory in most of our minds. And for the people under 25, I don't think they have a clue as to who these guys are. When I'm at the Savannah doing or any venue doing panorama shows, and we say who the arranger is and who's the pan tuner, and the names like Denver Jules, and they come up. I mean, some of the young people will ask you, who is he? I think we dump traditions in Trinidad and Tobago, and that adds to the demise of the promotional and marketing of what I call we music and we culture. We have Napa, we have SAPA. I thought it could be an entity where we can have departments, like you said earlier, for people who are very good at manufacturing, producing, writing, listening, and critical listeners who know what it means to promote a song for the global market and all of that.
But
But
remember,
those,
that was the battle that we fought with
Mhm.
Napa. It was to indigenize
Yes,
Napa. That Napa was not an indigenous facility. At its first thing, it was made up of strictly classical musicians.
hmm,
The hall itself was created only for classical music and those kinds of things. And we had to fight battles to
yeah,
indigenize the staff, indigenize the curriculum,
hmm,
and to open up the space for it to be a democratic space for Trinidad and Tobago music. Because, I mean, certain leaders and stuff went on the record as saying that that kind of music, steel band and chutney and that kind of stuff, was not meant for inside of there,
yeah.
right?
Can you imagine that?
That was not what, that it was meant for real music,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, so again, I mean, it does, I mean, it gives you an idea of why we are in the state that we're in.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we fought certain battles and that kind of stuff. There's indigenous music curriculum and different things, and there, the Martin Raymond's production stuff
Yeah.
has produced a whole series of guys who have come out, created, being some of the top producers in the country and songmen and different kinds of things, and some of the best session musicians in the country and stuff are now a new generation of coming out of that space and those kinds of things. So there's I want to talk about it as a whole, though. I don't like to talk about it in pieces,
Yeah.
because it might be it's a little dangerous to to do that.
Mhm.
So I just want to identify. I think the first thing we do, let's identify the assets on the ground. I think that's what we need
Yes.
to do.
Yes.
So the first thing we have to understand is that we have a global diaspora of genius, musical genius,
Yes.
right? That that we have farted on, that we don't take them on. Um, we don't take on Billy Ocean. We don't take on. This is the biggest black artist in England.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We don't take him on Grammy winner. I mean, we don't take on Heather Headley, and we don't take on these people. These people are completely irrelevant to us, and thing. But the thing is, it's a much huger uh, cohort than we understand.
Yeah.
It is a massive, massive, massive cohort of Grammy Award winners. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of like the top hip hop artists in Canada with Trinbagonians, with Trinidadians, Chaos, and that kind of stuff. Who predated and was one time a rival with Drake, and that kind of stuff. I mean, it is multiple pop and rock musicians up and down. The two of the biggest dance songs, and What Is Love, and that other one, What Is Love,
Yeah.
and I think are by Trinidadian men, are by Trinidadian men, and these are billion-dollar billion viewed songs. These are stratospheric songs that are played everywhere on planet Earth,
Yes.
right? These are Trinidadians who've created these songs. That means absolutely nothing to us. Nicki Minaj is the biggest female rapper
Yeah.
ever. I mean, like awards up Rukunka Tunkung, and none of these things, they're literally, the band OCB, so that was the beginning of world beat music,
Yes.
with
Yes.
Trinidadian, on keys, I mean, and so there hundreds of people and songs in that category. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
We have Alive and Dead, that resource, that catalog is Trinidad and Tobago music, right? We did a series of indigenous shows, I have to say on another network, and a project called the July Generation, where we curated a lot of those things. So we have links to that, and actually people can check out the July Generation on IG, and they will see us, a lot of the music and all the other kinds of things that we talk about and that kind of stuff there. And we're about to post about 100 of those internationals, Trinidad internationals that we don't know about, you know, and that have done incredible things, who charted and all kind of stuff and won awards and tra la la la. So that's one. So they have the catalog, and then you have the present day ones like Nikki and all of those who are out there who are in the diaspora working. One of the greatest female opera vocalists right now, the big Janine the Big, who is a revelation. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful voices and performers I've ever seen. I mean, you know, incredible, incredible, incredible talent. People like Etienne Charles,
Yes.
who is, who's kind of a world beat Winston Marsalis, you know, kind of figure, you know, in the jazz firmament at the moment, and all those things. So that we have those things. We have a project which is seeping out slowly but surely, which is the last album of Hugh Masekela, which was done with Deltones, Siparia Deltones,
Yeah.
and which is completed with the help of Marshall Montano, who has, I think he has a license for the region. And then they have a number of global deals with major record companies for different territories and that kind of stuff: Africa, Europe, America, and that kind of stuff. That, yeah, the major tour dates and stuff and associated with that rolling out. We have not made hay about the fact that this is Masekela's last statement before he passed. So this is the godfather of world beat music,
Mm-hmm.
right? So file that away. We have KMC's album at Universal. Now this is a complicated matter, right? So as I said, KMC had the largest deal for any Caribbean artist. Right, 26 million. I think that's US. And he was signed, and he was, I think it was Skrillex, the dance artist like Diplo and all those kind of things. Skrillex was his he belonged to that boutique label with Skrillex. It seems that Skrillex was kind of in that period where I suppose he was looking at his other DJ peers like Diplo and that kind of stuff, who were becoming global brands and performers in their own right.
Yeah.
And he was more concerned, I suppose, with transitioning like that himself, rather than looking at the artists on his stable that he was supposed to groom for Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, KMC had an album which I had the pleasure of hearing. He had duets with Justin Timberlake, J-Lo, Mark Anthony, Birdman, Lil Wayne, you name it. The album was insane. Hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. It was 20-something songs. And then he had a whole set that he had also recorded that demoed and that kind of stuff. Now, what was supposed to happen is Diplo was supposed to, release the first single with a video, and then it gets into the machine, into the label's machine, right? So the boutique label's job is to get it out the track onto the tracks, out the gates onto the tracks, and then they take over. But I said Skrillex was kind of dealing with himself. So what happened was that the other people on the label, the way that they would get around that was they would get, like, the other band, I think from Chicago or something, that was on the signed to the same boutique label, and they got the city of Chicago to sponsor their first video. So it meant that he didn't have to put out any money. The boutique label didn't have to put out any money.
Right.
The city of Chicago put out the money, and that band was able to release their first single, and once they released the first single and video, the machine of the record company took over and started to promote and do all the other, all the other kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we knew that was the problem that KMC was happening at that time. That was the period where for 9 months I worked inside the ministry. This was post the death of when Pat Bishop died in my arms, as we were battling for some of these same things.
Yeah.
5 times in my arms. And I made the vow. The last words to me were, "Are you going to let him get away with this?" I'm not gonna say who he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had to go back in, and what came out of that is that they erased a whole set of the things that we had won. That was like, at that time, 15 years of my life disappeared in, And so we had to go back in. We had to go from inside. We had lost the battle at Ministry of Planning and Ministry of Finance and Trade.
Yeah.
And so the weak link on their side was the Ministry of Culture. And so we applied pressure, and they brought me inside. They said, "Well, you keep saying all these things and embarrassing me in public and I can't think, well, you come inside and do the thing now." I said, "Well, right, good." And so we used that opportunity to try and get some of the things that we lost back inside. So during that period, I helped shepherd the Master Killer project through all the things to get it to a place where it was whatever. And we had a macro plan for the music industry, which is what I will talk about now.
Yeah.
And so on the KMC front, we said, like, give KMC $1 million, let him shoot a video. You're not giving him that money. It's not charity.
That's right.
Shoot the video in Trinidad.
Yeah.
And they're going to be brand Trinidad and Tobago. You can't pay for that kind of advertising for brand TNT that will be showing right through on all MTV and Ting and VH1 and whatever. You can't pay for that.
Right.
And I think, I can't remember if it was the song with J-Lo, where she would shoot her stuff abroad and he would shoot his stuff here. Right? Yes, we're going to do it and that kind of stuff. We start to move, ting. Then they start to say, boy, $1 million, boy. And I kind of say, like, yo, you always spend that on real tata. They always spend that, you always waste that. This is something, you heard the album. They heard the album with all these stars. I mean, like, it's like star after star after star after star. I mean, it's like insane music. KMC is an incredible songwriter.
That's right.
And that's how he got the deal. The first deal, when he got the deal and he got the Billboard hit and that kind of stuff, they picked up his CD or whatever it was, and KMC had like 100 friggin' songs. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And they just like, and so they press and play, and listeners are like, they say, you wrote all of this music? And you say, yeah. They sign him one time because a songwriter is premium.
That's right.
In the music industry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's like, you wrote all this song? You say, yeah, that's just some of these songs. Like some, yeah, get it pad. Like, get it pad now. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
So, in the end, they pulled the money from KMC. And the deal expired. Right? So, this happened to a lot of artists, John Legend, a lot of big artists and that kind of stuff. They signed to a label.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, whoever you're in charge of your stable and that kind of stuff, you lower in their priority. And you do an album and they never get around to you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's gone. The deal expires and you lose everything because that's their investment. They spent how much millions on all of that studio time, all that thing, all those guest appearances, all that whatever, and that kind of stuff to do that thing. You owe them as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
And so the real estate is this album. That album still exists, right?
Yeah.
Now, I just contacted KMC recently, and I've hardly seen this done in the past, but is a Hail Mary pass, but it's a beautiful project for a nation state to embark on
Yeah.
because of how important uh, our sons of the soil, our genius sons of the soil, are to us. I said, like, what do you think it would take for us to try and emancipate that album from Universal?
Yeah.
And he said, let's talk. I think that is a worthy enterprise because a lot of that music is not dated. That music could hit now. Like what I mean?
Yeah.
That music could hit now. You know? It's so right. So that's a major project. Like file that away. Right? So look at the assets that speak about, right? All these internationals, more than 100 and something, with their catalogs and their Grammys and their whatever and the Billboard hits and the stuff and the biggest dance musics in the world, all of that kind of stuff, which we have never connected the dot on. Never said that all these people are Trinidadians, Trinbagonians.
Yeah.
We have the current ones, the Nickies and the Heathers and the Janines and the whatever and that kind of stuff. Then we have and the Etiennes and that kind of stuff. We have the Master Killer Project. We have the KMC Project.
Yeah.
Then we have a number of Trinidad and Tobago artists that have been shortlisted for Grammys for the last couple of years, right? MX Prime,
Kes de Fentala.
huh?
Kes de Fentala.
Kes, Freetown Collective, a number of them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And incredible music. Of course, we don't play that. We don't play the music, right? We don't play the MX Prime songs and we don't play those kind of things. He did an album that was a global. I mean, it was it was in the mix for well, they put it in the reggae album for the year.
Yeah.
And the album that won was nowhere close to but anyway, but politics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So file that away, right? We have Gary Hector, who's now from formerly of Joint Pop and Oddfellows Local, who's just done another Americana album, kind of Bob Dylan country style and that kind of stuff with one of the storied kind of Americana studios. And I can think they're now mixing down that album that should be a revelation and those kinds of things. That this is opening up stuff into the country music field and all these other spaces and folk music and all those other kinds of spaces. File that. Right. So those are major global assets that we have. Things that can get column inches in music magazines and those kinds of things if we find the right hooks. Right? To introduce our music, we have all of that where I just talk about as the background. And we really need to start to talk about 110 years of Trinidad and Tobago music and all the things and I can think of the fact that calypso music is what created Afrobeats and all that kind of stuff. And again, and is the mother music of the Caribbean basin and is the mother of reggae and is the mother of all these things and that kind of stuff. And all of that kind of stuff and all these kind of things. The first platinum album in the world, all that kind of stuff and things. All of this is us. That's our history.
Yes.
So we have the opportunity with those things to enter into the global canon. Music channels, blogs, magazines, the people that curate the taste of the world.
Yeah.
Now, but the thing is, things have to be led by the current. It has to be led by your young music and that kind of stuff. The issue that we have at the moment is the high cost of recording music for young people who don't have the kinds of resources to be able to do so. Yes, the technology has made it easier, but especially if you're a live musician and that kind of thing,
yeah,
I mean, it's $6,000 to $12,000 to record a song.
Yes,
and an album of music is, that's $100 and something $1,000.
Yes.
How many working class youths, have that resource to be able to do that. We have to have a period of about a year and a half where what we're doing is curating and then recording the best music that is currently on the ground.
Yes.
We have to identify the thing that we had created for it was something called the Susu project. The idea of the Susu project is that we pay the producers, the studios, the top studios. You have those who are best who record vocals, the best ones who record live music, the ones who produce reggae, the best, the ones who produce dancehall or we know who does what, and they have their specialties and whatever. We identify the best session guitar musicians and that kind of stuff, background vocalists, all those kinds of things. Those are the people who are paid. What the musicians get are the albums, right?
Yeah.
You get to go in and work with these producers and that kind of stuff, and all these musicians and all this top stuff, and the top producers, arrangers, all that kind of stuff, string section, you get to use the string section, people at UTT, all those kind of things. And at the end of that cycle, you have your best new music. Your music that is attuned to the now, that is conjugating the now of the landscape.
Yes.
Right? It can only happen if we do it in a cooperative way like that. There's no way that those musicians can go after getting that music done. That's where this is what corporate can do.
Yes.
Come on board the Susu project. We identify these are the 10 or 15 studios that are going to do this. We curate the best music, people send in their stuff and that kind of thing. And we say, okay, these singles, these albums, these whatever, these artists, whatever. The other side is that we do the back end. We create the websites for these artists, the distribution channels, all the online stuff, the portfolios. We shoot the stuff now, the July Generation stuff. We did that. If you go on the IG for the July Generation, you would see us creating bios and portfolios and that kind of stuff, professional, international, that for musicians, which you didn't have before, right? So we introduced them to a whole series of international people through that process and that kind of thing. So that's the first thing. So we now have new music that we could now, and we have the catalogs and the internationals. And now is the aggression part. Now is the attack. We are going after, so it's every influencer, everything, whatever. If you're doing your dance thing and whatever, all your naked girls, only farms, whatever, your background music, like this is what Afrobeats did.
Yes.
They play no foreign music. You're playing local stuff. All them African stuff, they playing Afrobeats. That's what they're playing right through, and that kind of thing. That's how those stuff went viral and those kinds of things. All them dances, all them hot girls, all them whatever, all the slackness, all the whatever, all the violence, all the whatever. The backdrop and the backbeat of it was Afrobeats. Same thing here. You're bringing in all those kinds of things, and then we use the prong of the Masakela album, the new Miniki album, all those the global things that are present and that kind of thing to make noise. So you have an entry to be able to enter to World Beat magazines and that kind of stuff. You're talking about Masakela, but whilst you're talking about Masakela's last thing, you're also talking about this next generation of the fact that, hey, Trinidad and Tobago, brand Trinidad and Tobago is this place that has this person. Remember this hit, remember that, remember this, remember that. All that is Trinidad and Tobago. This, yes, damn thing. Oldest music industry, tra la la la. All of that. Everything on the rock tip, wherever the rock thing that we decide the angle for those things in the rock magazines and whatever. And the buzz for the next year is Trinidad and Tobago music.
That's right.
Rock stuff and that kind of thing. And you're aggressively going, meet them, the college circuit, Womex, all the different kinds of things, horses for courses. You're sending out your stuff and that kind of thing, and you're getting the booking agents, you're getting the stuff, you're booking the festivals, and you're making noise. And you don't only have one, like we had only Sparrow and nothing else. When one finish their tour for, I think the next year, the next person who have that album for that year comes in and that kind of stuff and that kind of thing, and the next person will come back and sing, and the next three jump in and that kind of thing, and it's a never-ending cycle. We start the never-ending cycle, like how I said when we sat down in England. Phones only ringing, it's only Jamaicans.
Yeah.
Phone. Yeah, man, ting, ting, ting. And at the same time we was talking, we had friends we were talking to in India, in Asia, in Africa, and all kind of stuff, in Germany, wherever. Everybody's saying they have a Sizzler concert coming next week. So everybody going Sizzler next week, Sizzler here next week and stuff. The person in Germany, Sizzler coming next week. I mean, it's like with the ass. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and we planning we little boutique tour, and the Jamaicans showing us how it's done. I think that we could go after appearances on the award shows, all those kind of things. Those kind of things, again, we have our ins and those kind of things, but we have to be clever in terms of what those things are. And when they're on stage, they're not just selling, they're selling multiple things about brand TNT, multiple sets of information and aesthetic information as well information at the same time. Every one of those things, every article, every appearance, every flash mob that appears in a New York subway, on a New York street, on a London street, or on a German street, on an Australian street, or in Japan, or whatever, playing that music and those kind of things, carries with it the information of that attack, that brand TNT music attack on
Yes.
the world.
Yes.
And it's led by that current crop of now music, but it's backed by this catalog of all. We have to recurate and catalog the best of that past music, the best Trinidad pop, the just best Trinidad reggae, the best Trinidad jazz, the best Trinidad easy listening, the best Trinidad straight ahead jazz, the best Trinidad avant-garde stuff, the best, I mean, all of those compilations, all of those things have to hit, and we make use of, and things will come up. There might be Olympic things that come up, and
Of course.
and
Of course.
there will be all kinds of things that we can't even predict at the moment that will appear. It just takes one person from the cohort to take off.
But Peter Minchell did that for us at once.
They drag everybody else with
Yes.
them.
That's right.
And we could do that. I mean, we could do that without them, meaning government and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If we get corporate thing behind the Susu thing to be able to get that stuff together, and the other part, of course, is to create we have to make that music mainstream locally, and it would mean partnering with radio stations.
Yeah.
It would mean big trucks driving around playing Trinidad rock and Trinidad Ting and Trinidad reggae and stuff, and concerts and corporate things. And a big thing I wanted to do is, we like to thief everything from America. So now graduations is a big thing in Trinidad, right? Like American style graduations, every school, every secondary school
Yeah.
have a thing. Well, then let's do it like American stuff. Let every single one of those things have local bands.
That's right.
Let every single secondary school graduation hire a local band. Rock, reggae, hip hop, zest, soca, whatever. Hire them. That's your feature and that kind of stuff. So that we know, so that's a season of performance that local musicians know. So you have those soca carnival season is one season for a certain set of people. For the non-festival people, they know that, hey, the graduation thing, and then the graduation is the beginning of summer in inverted commas.
Yes.
So the music, the bands that they now see playing at the grads and that kind of stuff is the music that you're going to be hearing throughout summer. Right? And that's the music that is the soundtrack of your free time, is this music. Right? And this is a world that I want to live in. This is a country that I want to live in.
Yeah.
Because We have done the hard part already. The people are recording the music and writing the music.
That's right.
It's there. And so it's about connecting the dots. It's about connecting the dots of the unrecorded, unheralded stuff that happens on the ground.
Yeah.
Getting it recorded and then getting it to the ears of the local population and let them fall in love with their local heroes.
That's
of
right.
performers and that kind of thing. And I really wish that we could have listened to some of the music, you know, but so people could hear what they're not hearing. And then starting to connect that to the catalog of music from this landscape, and then starting to connect that with the internationals. Those, a lot of who were born here, and for the same reasons, bounced their head and realized that I can't do this here. I can't do this here. They're not allowing me to do this here.
Yes.
And they went abroad and did it.
Yes.
You know?
A
And
lot of them.
and they've done incredible stuff, and they've done incredible things. Men like Smokey Joe and those guys abroad, who are the ones who are responsible for the 2 million people on Ladbroke Grove singing 4 generations of Trinidad and Tobago music from all the people from all over the world.
Yeah.
That's 4 decades of their work, you know, Sonny Blacks and all of them who put down that work and that kind of stuff. That's the reason why they won that for us. Now, how now do we convert those 2 million who don't know that anything probably else about Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah.
Apart from they just know, they know, like, I like that song, and we always hear that song, and we hear that song because of a friend in school always playing it and all those kind of things and that kind of stuff. Now attached to that brand TNT and all these other pieces of information and all this other type of music and all these other kinds of heroes and that kind of stuff that might be more akin to what they might listen to 24/7, 365. You know, and we could have a go at it. I think you know, I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to contemplate this stuff outside the realms of the state. But I'm not telling you anything that we haven't told the state for more than 20 years that they should do. You know?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, in graphic detail, you know, 100-page documents and that kind of stuff with figures and stuff and thing and that. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Feasibility, step by step. You know what I mean? If we get some corporate partners, you know, to go after this Susu stuff, we can use that and the relationships that we have with the internationals, and the moment that we have, because all those boys, Akinola and those boys down Sipara Deltones, Marshall and them, because they knew the plan. This was the plan.
Yeah.
They knew that this was the plan when we put everything together at that time. That they were going to be the arrowhead for the whole thing with KMC. And I really feel that we should try and resurrect KMC's album. That may require the state.
Yes.
You know, but you know, sit down and have a heart attack. You know, like the record companies historically don't have hearts, but let's try to invoke one, you know, and try to have that conversation, and come with some money for the till, and resurrect it and get that show on the road, because it's an incredible artifact. I can't tell you all how brilliant what that boy did for us was. Tears in my eyes talking about it because he did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He did it. You know, people don't think getting kicks on KMC because the thing fall through and all that kind of thing and He took us up on his back and did it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He did it. You know what I mean? And it can't be in vain, you know, like so many other things.
Yeah. Like, you know, I have been embarking on a mission too for about the same length of time, 20 something years now, where the pitch lake facility is concerned. And I know that too could be a platform or a stage where we could showcase so much of different talents that we have in Trinidad and Tobago here. And I'm talking about the musical aspect of our talents, and it's so difficult to motivate the or to get the ministries, the line ministries to take
If we do that
decisive
Susu
action.
thing and we have the products
Yeah.
and they have the backing of corporates and some international agencies and that kind of stuff, I'm sure then government can do their part and open up those venues so
Yeah.
that every week people know
Mhm.
that free shows,
Yes.
come on here,
Yes.
you know what I mean? South Central thing,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Shore Park,
Yeah.
bam, and that kind of stuff. Come and hear your
Yes.
greatest artists.
Yes.
Come and hear your greatest artists now. And these are your champions that are going to go out in the world and do battle for you,
That's right.
you know?
That's and
And that's how we have to see them.
yeah,
And
one
that's how all other countries see their artists. That's how all other
yes,
countries
of
see their
course.
artists.
Something you said that is of particular interest to me is the media houses. I think for some reason they like to send royalties out of the country by focusing on formats of a foreign nature. I think it should be mandated that all media houses employ at least at 50% of their playlist towards local music.
Well, so that is the legislation that we've been battling for now for,
Mhm.
over 30 something years.
Yeah.
And again, that requires government,
Yes. Legislation is
and
right.
it's legislation.
Hmm.
The amazing thing is that with that stroke of a pen, so there
Yeah.
are two main things, activist things that we fought for that require strokes of pen that changes the entire world of the nation in that stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
So one is getting the land tenure of all the panyards, um, getting them their land tenure.
Yes.
65% of the bands are on
Hmm.
state lands.
Yes.
So with one stroke of a pen,
Mhm.
we could be witnessing the largest migration of wealth into the
Yes.
hands of the roots classes and the
Hmm.
creative classes.
Yes.
Literally hundreds of millions of dollars in one stroke of a pen will now
Yeah.
be in the hands of roots people.
Hmm.
Now, we have a cabinet note. We created the cabinet note. We did all the work. Nestor Sullivan, the late Nestor Sullivan, bless his soul.
Hmm.
Did all the back-breaking work and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and we had all the things in place. You're going to have all of their managerial specs. They're going to have to be trained up. They're going to have they have to go through courses and those kind of things. And there will be a holding company that will oversee the work, oversee them for about 5 years to make sure they don't make stupid decisions and tra la 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 and all those kinds of things. But the idea was that. So that's one thing,
Hmm.
right? The other thing is local content legislation.
Hmm.
The economies of scale, people don't understand quite how it works, but I'll give you an example that's easy for people to understand.
Yeah.
6 p.m. to 7 p.m. used to be dead time in television,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Nobody, that was before news and nobody thing, and as I also ran kind of period on that.
Yeah.
Ian Allen created the show that he created,
Hmm.
Crime Talk or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that spot, 6 to 7, became a multi-million-dollar per day
Yes.
earning uh, uh, time slot.
Hmm.
It was dead air.
That's right.
All of a sudden, all the other stations now
Hmm.
had to compete because now you've lost that time slot completely. Everybody now migrating over to whoever have. So you have to compete because
Yes.
if you don't compete,
Hmm.
you run the risk now of you're going there on a slippery slope.
Yes.
You know, and started this every local programming. They
Hmm.
all start who come sex program, whoever competing crime program, whoever,
Hmm.
and now you have that time slot became monetized local thing.
Yeah.
Imagine if your prime time is 80% local programming, so 50% for the rest of the time, at 80% at prime time, so
Yeah.
7 to about 8 to 12 p.m. You have to find. So everybody gonna risk and they're gonna do the boring talking heads thing.
Yeah.
You program and Ting and whatever. The
Yeah.
first person to risk on a sitcom will teach the whole thing. All
Yes.
advertisers, all eyes, everything going over to that time period and that kind of thing.
That's right.
Now the arms race is on. You have to fight because now you run the risk of you don't exist anymore.
That's right.
In no time you could not exist. That's what happens with local content.
Yes.
Because people are going to create programming, people are going to find different ways to package, curate the stuff, all those different kinds of things.
Yeah.
And all kinds of things will materialize. Some formats and certain things will steal the airs, and then people are gonna have to compete. And they have to compete mining local material. And that's the beauty of the thing. It forces people to monetize local product.
That's right.
Rather than export the money,
Yeah.
abroad.
Ribadari, our time is up. We could continue this for another 2 hours. And I'm very happy that I brought you in, especially that we're going into the carnival.
Daddy, wake me up, boy. I kind of, I've been kind of,
I wasn't hearing from you. I wasn't hearing about you.
Because they ban me from papers, they ban me from this, they ban me from, they make it very difficult for the public to hear me. Right? So,
but you have your space right here with me, my brother.
And so, they've made it difficult. And the politicians, this generation of politicians on both sides, but especially this set, they refuse to listen to and partner in anything. So whatever we've won is what we've won.
Yes.
There's no more joy to be had. And so it made no sense for us to be set up how we were before, which is 24/7, 365 lobbying. Right. Because we're not in the business of making noise, we're in the business of change. And if change is not possible, we have to find other ways to make things happen. And we've been doing boutique projects, we've been trying other kinds of things and that kind of thing. And the noise making wasn't making any sense at the moment. And then a lot of our platforms have been shut to us.
Yes.
But you're awaken the gland. You awaken my local content gland again now with this, and the idea of seeing if we could get the local get local or international corporate partners, agency partners on the Susu project as the kind of basin that begins the attack, the kind of global, the attack of brand TNT music globally.
Right. That's right.
So
yes. But I'll keep in contact with you, and we'll keep our continuation. Maybe after the carnival, we go through an assessment of the carnival.
Right.
But you have your space here with me because I think we're on the same page, partner. And I
really appreciate them, that even before we got the Indigenous program, you were the person who would bring us in and play that music.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You always have been committed to the phenomena of local music and the Indigenous and stuff. And so I really, really respect that. And I want to thank you a lot for you were one of the people who midwife Indigenous for all it's done, and it's helped a lot of people's careers and it's changed a lot of people's lives. Yes. And that couldn't have happened if you did not risk on us. And those early
I used to really tell other problem with bosses with that, but I just didn't.
I would imagine, because some of them, I ain't calling no names, but some of them were some of the people on the other side of the table that we have had to negotiate with and who have fought down the thing in the past. So.
Yes. But I got to go, everybody. So I'll keep in contact with you. I want to thank Athena, Diane Benskin, and Elizabeth Bain, Raj Paul, all the folks who were logged on listening to us, all of them saying it's very informative. So we must have a continuation, and I'll call you after the carnival.
Yeah, man. You just give me a call and I'll be there.
Okay. I want to thank you so very much.
All the best. And
Yes.
happy New Year, everybody. Have a good one.
Good. That's been a Rubadari Victor, or Rubadiri Victor. I'm still seeing Rubadari. Rubadiri Victor, a very good friend of mine, a fighter for we music and we culture. And I'm certainly will invite him to another edition right here at Power 102 Digital, Tuesday's edition of Trini Ting, we music, we culture. Straight ahead, we got news with Dennis James in studio.